These are some of my favorite early summer lures. Let's talk about it.
Drop it.
So today I am going to be talking about some of my favorite midsummer to late summer lures. So to start it off, the lure I like for big fish, if you want to go out deep, is the hair jig. Right here I have the Outcast Tackle Chicken Jig. This is around $16, a little bit more pricey. This thing catches big fish though. And then right here I have the 6th Sense Flock Hair Jig. I really like both these hair jigs, and they're really good for deep water fishing. What I do is I like to cast these things out and let it sink to the bottom with slack line so it falls down straight. And then I click it and start reeling. It burns up. I reel as quick as I can, and it goes, and then you stop and it falls down. It kind of pendulums. That really triggers those fish to bite. And you can also hop it, let it sink, and just like go hop, hop like that. So that's why I really like the hair jig for summer fishing out deep. So my second lure for summer fishing is the swim jig. I love the swim jig for skipping docks, just any grass honestly, because these Divine swim jigs from 6th Sense cut through grass like it's nothing. And this always has a great hookup ratio, and these catch big fish. So the way that I work these swim jigs is when I'm skipping under docks, you skip it, obviously, work it a bit, and then you just work it out like a normal swim jig, Alabama shake, just pumping it, something like that. That really triggers those fish to bite. Or if you're by grass, you can easily cast it out and just retrieve it normally like a swim jig, and it goes right through that grass. So let's talk about trailers for my swim jigs. Personally, for my swim jigs, my favorite trailers are the 6th Sense Bongos. Those things just have crazy kicking action, not too many trailers, side actions, and it just cuts through everything like crazy good. And it looks really nice on there too. Some of my favorite colors, I only really need 2 colors for swim jigs, is really natural, like bluegill color. This is Fire Gill right here, Flyer Bluegill. And then this is a Pro Blue, so more of a white color. This is for like a shad color, more natural. This is a bluegill color for up north. That's my 2 favorite swim jigs right there. And that's how you throw them. My next and last bait of summer fishing is the frog. You cannot go wrong with this thing. If it's matted vegetation, if it's pads, any sort of really thick stuff, I love to throw this over there. And these are the 6th Sense Hush Frogs. These are really the only 2 colors I have, which is black and any kind of frog. This is great for low light conditions because it's silhouettes, so the fish can see it easier. And this white, I don't throw this quite as much, but if it's more of like a sunny out, I like throwing this because otherwise I just throw the black one. And to retrieve these frogs, you're going to want to just cast it out there, just rod tip up or down, whatever works for you, and just constantly flicking it like that. And usually, if you get a blow up on this, you got to reel down and give it the business. And that means just really wrench them out of that stuff. That's why I choose the frog. So now we've talked about the lures and the equipment. Let's talk about the rods and line I use. To start it out, my frogging setup is a 7/4 heavy fast action. And my reel, it's usually an 8-to-1 gear ratio. This is a Daiwa Tatula, and it's been really nice for me. And this is also a Tatula rod. Really nice for wrenching those fish out of that cover. And when you get the hooks, you're going to really want to rip it out. So that's, if it's more open space, you can do a medium heavy, but I choose to do the heavy to really rip out of that stuff. And now the rod for my swim jigs and maybe my smaller hair jigs is going to be this 7.3 to 7.1 medium heavy fast action rod right here. This has just been great for getting that Alabama shake going with that real quick tip. That's what I really like about this rod. This is a St. Croix Mojo Bass Trigen. I love this rod. It's been great for me, caught a ton of fish. And then the reel, I have a Corrado DC, but it is a 7-to-5-to-1 gear ratio. Or you can obviously do a 7-to-1 gear ratio. Something, just pick that line in a little bit more quick. And that's, for my line on this rod, I like to use around 30-pound braid to really horse the fish out of that grass. You can obviously do fluorocarbon, like maybe 15 to 20 pound for those more clear lakes, but I only use braid. So that's my swim jig setup right there. And then lastly, for my hair jigs, I usually like the bigger ones, like this chicken jig right here. This is a 1/2 to 1 ounce. I throw this on my heavy to get a good hook set in that thing. And then for the smaller hair jigs, like this flock, this is only 3/8. I like throwing this on my medium heavy fast action, 7.1, and that is my hair jig rods. And usually for line, I like to go with relatively same, like 30-pound braid and on my heavy, 65-pound for that, just to get with the frogging line too. That's my rods for the hair jigs. And I know we didn't talk about it in the video, but one rig that I love to throw recently is the Neko. And usually I do not throw this on a stick bait. I like using more of a finesse worms, but still, this is a great presentation for finicky bass. I use O-rings, obviously, to get the worms stay out there longer. I use a 1/16 ounce nail weight in there. And then I use a Googan weedless wacky hook. That's been great for keeping the weeds off and just staying relatively weedless. And then my rod for this setup, it is a Lew's Classic. I think it is a 6/8 medium fast action. I really like this for that sensitive tip. You could obviously do medium light. That would be a really nice quick tip on there. And you don't want to really horse these fish out either. So you're going to find any cover to fish this around, like trees, gravel, maybe some rock, anything like that, maybe inflow and outflow. That's where this shines. And I really like to throw this around like inflows or trees. And I take my time. I really flip it in there, wait for the bite, like really work these trees. Just slowly work it, little hops at a time. You can also drag it. If there's gravel, that's really good for dragging. And then the bite just usually, you lean and it just starts going. That's mostly the bite. Sometimes you feel them tick it. And then my line for this is, I think it's 10-pound braid, which you could obviously do, I have a to 8-pound leader on this right now, because in these lakes it's been pretty clear lately, and we want a finesse technique. Don't want them to be able to see your line, and that's why I love the Neko rig. Now that we've talked about rods and lures, let's talk about where to fish these lures. For the frog, I like to work this around really thick grass or even pads specifically. If it's more sparse pads, that's perfect with a little bit of grass under. And the depth for the topwater frog, it can definitely vary, but I like looking for deeper grass or deeper pads. That usually holds more fish, and you can these are really strong baits, and you can fish them in the thickest stuff of the summer. Where I fish the hair jig is I almost always fish this out deep structure, like points, bars, anything like that. I will not fish these lures in shallow. It just doesn't work that way. So the way I fish these out deep is I find an offshore point. I'll show you on the screen here. And then you're going to work around that point. Usually has a steep break. That works too. Steep break is really good for these. You're going to cast along it to the point, anything like that. Let sink, then retrieve it like I told you earlier. That's where I love to fish the hair jig. And lastly, where you fish the swim jig really doesn't matter. You can skip it under docks, any shallow grass. You can fish it out deep, I suppose. Just work it like a normal jig. You can really fish it anywhere. It varies 100%, but it just depends on what you want to do with this lure. And that is where I fish the swim jig. I know it wasn't much today, guys, but thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure stop watching and go fishing. Have a great day.
Throw your hands up if you with it, drop it.